awesome.
And what I don't, between you and I, they OEM some stuff that's sold in the
Hold
U.S.
on, just a second, just a second, just a second. This is going out, is there audio going out live? Okay, just wanted to let you know that there's audio going out live right now, just so.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I know, I wanted to remind him, yeah.
Yeah, but they OEM some products that have a non-disclosure on it, making them for other labels. A good part of those are sold in the U.S., but that's nothing I am concerned with at all.
You don't deal with that, yeah. You know, there's Sean, there they are. Another thing is you talk to almost everybody in our business. You talk to guys all the time. How many? Well, first of all, how many weeks a year are you on the road?
About 20 to 24.
Wow, half the time.
Yeah.
Half the weeks in the year you're on the road.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's what my wife says.
Yeah.
That wasn't the word she used.
Yeah. How many? Tell us a little bit. I mean, I see you at NAB, and of course I see you on Facebook every day almost. But tell me, what are the, NAB is the biggest one I know. What are the sort of types of events and sizes of events that you go to?
Well, starting with NAB and then Cinegear, both, well, NAB, Las Vegas, Cinegear, LA. And then we did Cinegear Atlanta last year, which was a great start for an initial year for the show. We do NAB New York.
Okay.
So those are the four majors that most people know. And then we do different dealer events. Just came out of Ohio with a company there, Ohio HD. I will go pretty much to whatever dealer of ours is presenting a special program.
Right.
And show the batteries at that point. We also do some booth shares with other companies.
Yeah.
At various events. Was it Barbizon?
Yeah. Okay.
We just recently came on with Barbizon, but that was introduced by going to shows in support of a lighting manufacturer.
Got you.
And then Barbizon got to see our products, and we got to do the introduction through that.
Okay.
So primarily the four major, well, Texas, a couple in Texas. So I'd say 4 big trade shows, maybe 6 smaller trade shows, and then dealer events.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. And that keeps you 24. That keeps that busy half the year.
that gets me 20 of my 24, and then
that's incredible.
That's incredible. Call on specific dealers or manufacturers, other manufacturers.
Yeah. You know what? I'm interested in sort of your take. What year was it that you started with the batteries and you actually started going to a lot of shows? And I know you did that prior to when you were working for your other places, right? But what year was it that you got into the batteries? I
got into the batteries in 2011.
Okay. That's a little later than I thought, to be honest with you.
Yeah. First year full-time as a manufacturer's rep was 2010.
Okay.
And I picked up the batteries next year at NAB.
Okay.
But for the next couple of years, I was just a regional person and calling primarily not on camera facilities, but more of a general sales. Yeah. And what other industries do you sell to? Any other industries directly other than film and video? Are there other industries that you sell to?
30 seconds.
No. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. Lots of different aspects. But
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Great job.
Let's kick this off in about 15 seconds. We should be ready by then.
Okay. You know, and I want to talk to you too about what people talk to you about in the business. You know, you're sort of once removed, but you talk. Hey everybody, Friday, 2 o'clock, got to be Burnie's Applebox, and we got an awesome show today. A guy that I love to talk to, but I never get to see him in person except at NAB or Cinegear, Mr. John Morgan.
Pleasure.
I almost said Blueshape battery just because I'm so associated with your that name and your face.
That's good news.
Hey, Listen, it's great. Let me introduce the guys, the hardworking guys who I've been driving absolutely crazy for the last half hour, maybe longer, maybe a couple years actually now. 2 years. Okay, good. Yeah, 2 full years. Thanks, guys. And anybody who's watching that, I'll tell you, knows John Morgan here. And you know what? I forgot to share the show, and I'm going to do that right now. But anybody who knows John Morgan, know he is the hardest working guy in show business. I will tell you that. He is like, you were just telling me 24 weeks a year you're out on the road with Blueshape and stuff. That is incredible. That is incredible. And you are so good also at social media. I mean, you're all over it. There isn't a day goes by I don't see another post from John Morgan. That is so awesome, dude. You do a great job.
I appreciate that. It's the cost factor. I can afford marketing that way.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here right now. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Hey, Sean, in a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you to play an Onset University commercial. Yeah, and then we'll get going. We've got a couple little things to do here in the studio. But you know what I want to tell you, I want to talk to you about today is where you came from, how you got into our business, and also what are you hearing? What's the scuttlebutt out there? You talk to everybody in our industry, and I'm fascinated to learn about that. So we'll be right back then.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot. That's something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is a lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lighting. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just spread into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of this stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey everybody, and we're back with John Morgan, Blueshape Batteries. And you know what, John, I'll tell you something, and this is, You know, I love taking apart our industry business-wise, and that is not how I started in it. But as I've got my own grip and lighting business and stuff and learned more about how this industry works, it's fascinating to me, all of the aspects of it and the things that people wouldn't expect. One thing I think about, because I always look to you, you are actually my, when somebody says the word vendor,
okay,
your name's on it.
Okay.
And your face is on it, for me, because I look at your relentlessness, your go, 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 you know what I mean, that you always have, and every time I see you at the events, you're always so upbeat, you remember everybody's name, you're always talking to somebody. Every single time I've gone up to your booth, you've been talking to somebody. So I think about you, but you know what, when you say film and video industry, nobody thinks of guys like you. And that's the vendors out there that support the network of people that are producing content. And it's a vast, now we are a small industry, but within our industry, it's a vast number of people that are providing that support, you know. When you're out there and you're looking back at us, the community, so now you're talking to your camera guys, sound guys, lighting guys, all of that. What do you get? What do you hear back from us? And I know that's a very broad question, you know, but what is your take on our industry coming from the outside of it?
I think one of the things I hear most from people is either an excitement or a frustration, depending on the perspective, with the constant changing of technology. And let's, you know, 10 years ago, Red 1 was coming out.
Yeah.
And now the same box that would do that, much like cell phones were originally, you know, a shoebox size, and now they're in a watch.
Right.
The technology of the industry, both in lighting and cameras, has just exponentially gone forward. But it's almost like a 3D chess match, because you get smaller, but also increased image. You know, more pixels, longer time. And it's going in all directions at the same time. So. Yeah.
They give it that's a very, very interesting thing, because, you know, I feel so much the same way, is that there's been so much good that has come, yet I look at it and I see some of the things we've lost too, and you needed to be there to see those things. Now, making an evaluation on what is the trade-off, maybe you don't even have a choice in it. There's some things that are just inevitable, right, that are going to happen. But you hear that constant frustration with technology, and I think that is very, very true. However, I think almost it's, and I'm just giving my 2 cents in here, I think it's almost because it's become more democratic. In other words, more people can get their hands on a camera. More people can make a good picture with a camera in less time.
Right. And I don't even want to call it lower end, but there's no lower cost products.
Yeah.
They have improved so much.
Yes.
That you're able to get a very acceptable image out of it, and even something that the average consumer, as they watch it, won't go, oh, that was, yeah. But the professional eye and the color grading and so on still needs this level.
Yeah.
So we need to, as an industry, we need to look for what is the consumer buying.
Right.
You know, 8K is probably fabulous, but I don't know.
How much is it worth?
I don't know anybody that's got an 8K monitor that isn't in production.
Yeah.
You know, at home, the screens are getting bigger.
Frankly, I'm surprised people have as many 4K TVs as they do, to be honest with you, because you can't see that many 4K shows on TV.
No.
You know? I think that's a funny thing, too, because the technology seems to almost dictate now what we do.
Right.
And, you know, there was I always talk about the pipelines. You know what I mean? That before, you know, when I got into the business, we were in a very narrow pipeline. It was broadcast, cable, or DVD or VHS, right? You know, you couldn't get out of that. That kept the hole small for getting material through there.
Right.
It's a floodplain now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I can take this, go live, take a picture of that camera, go up all over the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
With no resistance. Forget the quality, forget everything else, but I can do that. You know, And certainly, I think there's a big difference between people like, and I'm not even going to include you. Okay, I'll give you the 10 years younger that you are than me. But you know what? When you have lived in a world that we have lived in with a certain standard of production, and admittedly that was hard to attain. You know, that was a high level that you had to go back through and attain. Then we've come up with almost a prejudice, people in our age group and in this, that TV should look like this.
Right.
The young people have no, I mean, no, it shouldn't. It should look like whatever I'm doing. It should look like what I want to put out, you know, and frankly, I think they're right. You know what I mean? They weren't right 20 years ago, they're right now.
It comes down to the consuming public.
Yeah.
I mean, who is going to be paying for this in the grand scheme?
Who wants the stuff,
and,
right?
And the channels, the YouTube channels, and some of the other streaming services and so on, they've got great support from the millennials in particular, but all folks across the spectrum.
Right.
And so while we may we want it to look like this, the vast end of that funnel now is more than happy with that image.
Yes, yes, yes. No. Not only happy, I don't even think they think about it.
No.
I don't even think they consider, they look at production value like that, you know. And there still is a place for high production value. Of course that's there, you know, and my favorite thing is saying product value equals production value. That is truly the way I feel about it. But, you know, I came across and I saw some stuff that kids did, and I thought, this is brilliant.
Right.
This is so simple. It's so them. You know what I mean? They didn't need anybody else selling it to them. They were just showing themselves, you know, and what somebody that age does. I thought it was just like very good material, you know. Go ahead.
I have 17 and 12-year-old stepdaughters at home, and to watch what they're seeing on TV, what they want to look at, gives me a different perspective than.
Well, tell me about that. I'm interested in that.
Well, the 17-year-old, if it isn't streaming, it isn't real. She pretty much gets all, either phone or laptop. She gets all of her programming through there. The 12-year-old is still more prone to the broadcast, but younger age broadcast.
Yeah.
The ones with the second and half cut.
Yeah.
That drives us old folks nuts because they're going like, about the time you get the shot set, they're going next and next and next.
Our vision just starts clearing up after the first second. Yeah.
So, but they.
Interesting.
My 17-year-old, not to plug the show, but my 17-year-old fell in love with The Walking Dead when it came out. Watched every episode, knows all the characters, and that was her last foray into broadcast TV. And from then on, it's been on the laptop.
And on the laptop. See, that is truly I think the thing that is, that in all honesty, I do not have a handle at all on. You know,
you should adopt some young kids, teenagers.
Of course, there's my wife, but no, that's a different story.
Doesn't bother me at all.
But you know what is that I realized, like downstairs neighbor, you know what I mean? He came up and he doesn't have cable, you know. So I'm going, God, don't have cable and stuff like that. And of course, it's the back and forth, you know what I mean? Yeah. He comes up and goes, hey, what's going on? I go, oh, you should get cable. But it's fun. But you know what? I was amazed at how that lifestyle has changed consuming TV when you don't have cable, because then I became introduced to them, saw how they digest TV or entertainment, and it's so different. It's so different, and it made me realize that I use cable and the regular TV the way it comes over, the way it used to be, the way I grew up with it. You know what I mean? There is so much wasted time on it. I'll tell you one thing that it has actually done to me, believe it or not, is I don't turn TV on as much anymore. You know. First of all, the news isn't good, right? And you go through, and the programming, while there is very interesting stuff, I mean, but once again, I go to Netflix. You don't need cable to get to Netflix.
I think the introduction of the DVR was something that really caught my attention. The thought that when you get to the commercial, you hit click and skip it and go on, and then you're now watching the 2-hour program in an hour and 20 minutes or something.
Yeah,
Really,
I like that.
It consumes some time, but as a vendor, I know the commercials are critical.
Right.
And that's one of the other fun parts of our industry is
Yes.
making the commercials worth watching.
Yes, 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 to have that. And you know what I have found, one of the biggest tricks that I think there is out there, what it is, communities and people, and I've started using that word communities more because I'll tell you, I think it identifies power groups much better than any other way we used to do it, like being politically or economically, and so it's communities. And one thing I have found is that nothing is successful unless you're talking directly to the community. If the community is 13-year-olds, you got to talk to the 13, and have a 13-year-old preferably talking to them.
Right.
You know, and the same was with our industry. You know, I did something at NAB last year, and this is something that you certainly don't suffer from. People run to your booth. I mean, that's how much people like you. I don't know if you know that, but they do. They run to your booth. They come to see John Morgan. They actually don't come to see Blueshape. I hate to break it to you, buddy, but they come to see John Morgan.
I need a raise.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I would agree, yeah. But the thing is I went around and didn't intentionally start this when I did my little tour that day of NAB, but I thought, I went into one place and it was like I didn't even exist. And here we are at NAB. I was somebody who was a potential buyer, had even bought their product before and stuff. And it was, for them, it was just about nothing in the community. It was all about how they were doing as a company and stuff like that. I think that's what makes and breaks people in our industry and selling here, is that you have to be on the community level. I look at things like, and once again, not to just pick them out, because there's a lot of great examples of this in our industry, but Matthews, for thing. They are always on it. They are always talking to the community. They always have something for the community. They always know what the community is talking about, you know, and they're not at all separated from it, you know.
Right.
Some other, maybe some camera manufacturers who make lawnmowers at their other companies or something like that, they don't quite get it, you know.
I logged on to a couple different websites 2 weeks ago and wrote down the battery companies that these just 2 vendors were selling batteries.
Yeah.
And 31 different companies were on that list from those 2 vendors. I think what I want out of Blueshape and the Blueshape thing is exactly what you said, community. I want to talk to people. I want to find out what they want. There are cases where our batteries don't fit their need.
Yeah.
And I see no sense at all in trying to used car them into buying something they don't want or need.
Exactly.
I'd much rather go to somebody that can benefit from the product, will use the product, share it with other people because it is a fit for them.
Yeah.
And respond to needs as opposed to, again, convincing them that they need something they don't.
Well, you know what? I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's just how I conduct my business too. Is like I'm taking orders and stuff. A lot of people come to me for advice. You know what I mean? What do we need? We want to do this. What should we use? You know what I mean? And you've got a choice when you're a business owner to think about that. Number one, I acknowledge my prejudices in here. You know what I mean? I want to make money. You know what I mean? But how I don't want to make money is a one-time only. I want people to have confidence and trust in what I do, and they come back over and over, because that's the only way I'm going to make any money. You know, and because a steady clientele, obviously. You know, so I too have to walk that, and I don't sell anybody something they don't need. And usually, I will say this is because people are not as familiar with lighting, you know, as they are some other things like camera operation or something like that. It's they're usually thinking they're thinking too much. You know, they need to step back, simplify, and get that. And I find that's really fun when I can do it for them. And when you help somebody like that, as you know what I mean, with good advice, you can't keep them away from you. They keep coming back over and over again. And I think that's really where you nail it.
I agree 100%. We do get a lot of questions. Ours are far more limited in scope because we sell batteries. So somebody will come up and
I don't know why the sky is blue.
I want this big honking battery, and I've got this DSLR camera with a plate on the back of it. Well, like, your camera weighs 1.5 pounds and your battery weighs 3.2 pounds. And then you add the plate. Are you sure that's what you want?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the extreme example, but a lot of folks will overbuy the power. They'll get enough juice to run their camera for 8 hours, and they're a wedding videographer, say, or something of that sort. So we get a lot of what is the best battery for this. Got an inquiry yesterday, and the guy said, I want to buy your battery. How much is it? And my first question back is, what are you using it on? And then, what size is it? How long do you use it? And it was literally 9 questions before we get back and recommend which battery.
Wow.
And that's simple compared to what you've got out there, because I'm just looking just in this studio that you have here, and all the different lights and options that you've chosen to make this look like what you want. And I know the people that are coming to you benefit from that kind of expertise in all areas and the decisions that
exactly, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, to help them out and do that. You know, let me ask you this, and I first of all, I know nothing about batteries. I mean that almost literally. I barely know how they work. You know, mostly what I know about, does it fit in there? And if it does, then there's the power cord. Right. And I got to press this to take it off. I know that much about batteries. You know, but let's talk about batteries as in the worldwide context, or batteries as an item, because really it seems to me every time I'm hearing something about cars or planes or something, batteries are coming up, you know, and what are the, I guess I want to know, we seem to be at a place, and this comes from a total layman's point of view, you know what I mean, but we seem to be in a place where batteries can't get past a certain point, and I always feel or sort of hear that if we somehow can break that ceiling there, that the world is our oyster at that time. Can you give me some clarification on and I don't expect you to solve the problem, obviously, but what are they talking about? Or what is it, where are we at with batteries, what's the next step?
Well, that's a question that they're working on at this point, but the answer isn't here yet.
Yeah.
Most of the people from 10 years ago on used the nickel metal hydride batteries. They were the latest thing out, latest and greatest. They charged a little slowly compared to today's batteries. They lasted a long time. They didn't blow up airplanes. So that was good.
Yeah.
Then with particularly the laptops coming in, the lithium ion technology was developed, which then was transferred over to all sorts of batteries, but especially the video industry.
Right.
And that has the advantage of giving a good life on the camera or light and a quick charge. Also no memory in the battery. That is, you don't have to discharge it and recharge it to make sure it's right.
Is that a thing of the past now?
That is a nickel metal hydride trait and not a lithium ion trait. So that helps us survive without worrying about that particular aspect anymore. But the thing with the lithium ion, the chemistry that's in it has its own inherent issues and problems, as we know from trying to carry them on an airplane. So that chemistry is controlled by internal boards and built-in safety into the battery, which can't fail. That is an inherent problem with lithium ion. So they're now looking at the next technology. We've improved the lithium ion cells themselves using different formulas with lithium to give them a different safety factor, still a great performance factor. Even the individual cells that, similar to AA batteries, are now far more productive on output and far safer than the ones from 3 or 4 years ago.
In that short of a period?
Yeah, oh yes.
3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's a constantly evolving situation. We have a 90 watt-hour battery that's standard height battery, and we have a 95 watt-hour battery that's 2 inches shorter. And it's because the cells that are in that smaller battery are the high-performance cells.
Wow.
The recent thing. So the production, it's no longer size, weight, direct. A lot of it's the internal part of the cells. But even today, I know our guys are constantly reviewing the new technology that's coming out. Generally, it's the automotive industry that is
that's
pushing
this.
with
the R&D and everything.
Right, but as they as they test different things, there's battery organizations and sharing information on how to improve and do things safely. There are some strange formulas being investigated at this point, but the end result will be when they can transfer to something that's as productive or more, that's as safe or more, and doesn't cost significantly more, then we will transition to the next level. So
interesting. That's what is your prediction for the next? I mean, you blew me away with that. In the last 3 or 4 years, batteries have gotten to be even AA's and stuff like that, right? With the technology.
It's the AA type cells. Yeah, the standard AA's that we buy are still all the same formula, but the professional cells that hide inside the batteries.
Yes, got you. Yes. So what is your prediction, say, for the future where batteries are at right now, as far as where do you see the R&D going? What do you think a timeline is that the batteries increase in a significant way for storage? Or is that realistic?
Well, it's realistic. I'm not sure giving the timeline is, because I'm not in that side of the business.
I got you.
But I would, it's a constant ongoing research project, so it wouldn't surprise me if in 3 to 5 years we aren't seeing the next step forward.
Wow.
I know that right now a lot of our industry standard is a 14-volt battery everywhere, but so many cameras and lights are now operating off of battery, and they require 28 or 48 volt. Alexa came out with their new large format camera that requires basically 21 volts. It's 19.7 to just turn on, so it runs on about 21 volts. And battery manufacturers have addressed that by either using multiple batteries, building custom batteries, or one company used technology to build a little adapter that steps the single 14-volt battery up to 21 volts.
Wow.
Just happens to be Blueshape, so I know that one really well.
You know that one good. You got that one in-house.
But there are a number of options required by that. So I am sure in the immediate future you're going to see larger capacity 24-volt batteries or things of that sort that become more common than what they currently are, 24, 28 volt, I should say, in that area.
Gotcha. So, going back to like client needs and stuff, what is if you were to say your typical camera guy sale, guy's a DP, he has cameras and stuff like that, what does he want? What's he buying right now? What's motivating him? Is it more, when you're selling batteries, are you selling it for his camera or are you selling it for his lighting now?
We're probably 40% lighting, 60% camera.
Well, that surprises
roughly.
me. That surprises me. I wouldn't have thought it'd been that high.
And one of the things with lighting is often it will take 2 or 4 batteries.
So the footprint is bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
But the little mini batteries, we came out with a smaller format battery.
Yeah. Okay.
And that immediately took off in the market to take over a very large part of our market. And some of it is because it fits the line of the Ursa Mini, the Red Minis, and Red Weapons, and so on. It gives a nicer look, but at the same time, it's also a smaller footprint for traveling, and they can pack more batteries.
So you can get more punch for the space.
Right.
Yeah.
And as far as which batteries people are buying, one of the early questions is, are you flying with the battery? Because the 95, anything 100 watt hour and below, the TSA allows any reasonable number, is their quote.
Okay.
But just in carry-on. So you can put 12 of those in a carry-on bag. TSA will open the bag, look at it, maybe dust it for explosives, make sure you haven't changed the content, and then they pass it through now.
Okay.
So you can carry enough power to do your shoot that way, whereas if you're driving, you can use the bigger batteries.
And
don't have the same issues.
Worry about it. Yeah, right, So it's a certain size of battery that TSA is going to kick back.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Hey, I'd like to commandeer your program from
go, please.
Battery safety.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Every trade show, somebody comes up and says, well, yeah, I know it's supposed to be 100 watt hours or less, or 160 and less for 2 batteries carried on, but I changed the label on this, or I I put this here.
Change the label.
I put it in my suitcase, and they didn't catch it. It's in the bottom of the plane.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love ingenuity and I love creativity, but I really like getting to my destination. and I'm flying a lot of times on those planes. The reason that lithium-ion batteries are required to be in the cabin and carry on is that they can internally just ignite. If the battery is cheap, if the control board isn't right, and so on, damaged, particularly laptop batteries with the drop. A lithium-ion fire is not the everyday fire, but it's actually extinguished very easily with just a very common Class B fire extinguisher that most businesses have. It doesn't take a special foam or anything else. And all the airlines have Class B fire extinguishers in the cabin, so should something happen, they see smoke coming out of the overhead, they can open it up, hit it with the fire extinguisher, close it, and continue on to the destination. When those bags, the batteries are put in bags underneath, there's nothing there for them to see, and therefore there's no way to stop it. UPS, 7 years ago, I believe it was, and I'm sure FedEx followed suit soon afterwards, reordered new containers for their freights, the little half circle things that they use, to be airtight and fireproof. So should something now happen in a cargo craft, you may lose a couple $1,000s worth of freight, but you're going to land and say, gee, we lost $1,000 worth of freight.
The plane's not going to burn up midair.
Right. So it's just very important that folks, as much as I hate government regulations, and
well, there's a reason for the better part, right?
There's a reason that was passed. And
public safety.
We'd really like to make sure that batteries get a good name and not be the bad guy on some of these things.
Right. So have they you said switching the labels like that? That's don't do that. Don't do that. That's classic. That's classic. And you know what? I think most people, most guys in our industry are very aware of that. They're very. Actually, I get people renting batteries from me because they don't want to fly them.
Right.
So that's an interesting thing.
We recently had the one Boeing model that got grounded due to a computer thing. My fear is that if people don't respect the battery regs, that the next regulation will be no batteries.
Oh, that's absolutely.
And
no one will care.
That will create a big problem for the end users, and the aircraft folks are going to go, too bad.
Well, because I got it. It's really not their problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're in that situation, it's not their problem. One thing that's always surprised me is they haven't come up with a standardized way, just like you talked about in taking batteries in a fireproof case of some sort. I'm surprised that the airlines haven't come up with a solution like that. However, it's probably not that often, right? I mean, it's one camera guy maybe for every 10 flights? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to guess. But at that rate, it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, the batteries most need to be in the fireproof case. Again, we're back to laptop batteries. And the smaller, cheaper batteries that don't have the safety built in. So we actually, at Blueshape, they developed a shipping container that isn't intended for carry-on. It's intended for the air freight.
Shipping.
And it has slots on the inside, so it limits the number of batteries. So 8 of our small ones, 5 of our mediums, 4 of our big.
Gotcha.
But there's a limit to the amount of lithium content that can be in any one box. And by virtue of those dividers, our batteries are limited to that, under that amount. And then it has the special foam so they don't shake and get broken. The outer case can be dropped from 10 feet. It doesn't break, designed to dent, has the proper labeling on it. Everything except fireproof, but with the batteries being made the way they are, we're not worried about an internal malfunction, so when we protect them from damage, then they should ship very safely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. How much do you talk to the airline industry? I mean, are they coming? I imagine the communication is sort of one way where they talk to you, but do you get any feedback to them?
One particular airline took the initiative to start reaching out and
that's
working
good.
with folks. So there is a little loose network just starting to approach the topic and cover some of these areas. But primarily it is the knee-jerk reaction when A happens, we pass regulation B. And
like the rest of our governing community.
Yeah. So we'd like to keep any more incidents from happening. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You know, are you guys doing any education or outreach training, anything like that with Blueshape? And I'm just curious if you are. Not, I wouldn't think exactly what you would be able to teach, but are you reaching out?
We primarily our focus, my focus, is to vendors, to resellers,
right?
And teaching them about the battery. We've been blessed with a very good marketing partner, distributor. They are doing videos about the batteries themselves and putting out that information. As far as a general battery education, not so much.
Yeah. But that's actually what I was looking for. Your distributor is making videos, product videos, handling, that type of thing. That's good. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and it's excellent support because, as we've said, I tend not to be home a lot.
Yeah.
And available by phone, so having knowledgeable people backing us up makes a big difference.
That's huge. That's very, very big. Yeah. What is it that you're hearing from camera guys? I know we talked about the technology. You know what I mean, and that big change there. Does anybody talk to you? And I'm just talking because I know you talk a lot of scuttlebutt. You know what I mean. Anybody talk to you about pricing, about their rates and stuff? I've seen rates go down. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We don't really have a licensing system. You know, the local union has some credibility with setting standards.
Some credibility, yeah.
But the average person that's hiring a company to do a video isn't asking, you know, do you have a certification of any sort? They're saying, what's your price?
Yeah.
And if the guy can come out with $200-300 handy cams and an iPhone and shoot the commercial and charge them $1,000 versus somebody that just paid $20,000 for his camera and is trying to pay it off.
And wants to do a good job.
Right. It depresses the market overall.
Sure.
But again, I don't want to say cream rises to the top automatically, but the guys that hone their skills and then produce notably better product, will find the customers that are willing to pull money out of their pocket and pay for it.
Yes.
So it's important. Organizations that do train give a lot of information. There's a lot of Facebook groups, but there's also some private membership-based organizations that just do a phenomenal job of sharing a wealth of information, particularly good lighting technique, good camera operation. Put battery on, turn it on is about all we have. But
right.
At least we get the simple part.
But it works when you do that.
But those folks that are getting those skills are still surviving and moving forward. And the others will, much like the gypsy cabs, will fall off the face of the planet, except for the few folks that where price is the only thing.
Well, you know what does me very well hearing what you just said was that the cream eventually does rise to the top. And it's not no good journey is easy.
True.
Right? I mean, this is one thing that I found in my life because I started later in life and came into it. And, you know, I was old enough and mature enough to learn, maybe not understand right at first, but learn that it's all about the path.
Yeah.
It's not about where you get to on the path, but it's all about how you walk the path, how you tread, how you push yourself forward. And it's not always going to be easy. Also, it's not always going to be the way you think it ought to go.
Amen to
it's
that.
going to be going a different way, but it's going to lead you where you need to be. And you know, that to me is a very, very, that's when you have to be like really walk by faith, I think, in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people learn. Those are the ones who rise to the top. It comes, and you know what? I tell this to people all the time because there's a lot of guys that were, say, our age. Now there's a whole new young group of filmmakers coming up who are great, by the way. They are not, you know what I mean?
Right.
They are not putting out low-grade material. They are putting out high-grade material, you know. And But they have a different way of looking at the situation. They have a different way of approaching it and everything. And that is really good. Those guys will come to the... I always say this, if you can produce production value, you will have a job somewhere in this industry. Right. Because talent is talent. And, you know, and talent, too, I will say this, maybe this isn't the correct thing. You may not be as naturally talented as somebody else, but boy, you can learn and you can produce great content if you stick with it. Right. You know, and that's the whole thing.
Commitment and effort bridges a lot of talent gaps.
A lot of things. A lot of talent gaps. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's interesting because you hear that as an outsider, because that would be totally inside that of the things that I hear all the time. Okay. You know, but I have the advantage of being old enough to remember when the hippies came along after the post-World War II generation, you know, was there. And I remember that transition. And at the time, of course, with my afro and everything, I didn't think too much about it. Now I look back and I thought, you know what, we must have driven those guys absolutely out of their minds. Yeah. You know, we must have looked like the falling of the nations right there. Like, you know, the end of the Roman Empire or something, you know. And I hear so many guys my age in our industry almost talking like that about the new people who are coming up. And I think it's such a big, big mistake, you know. First of all, and this has been my case here, I have been mentored by people 20, 30 years younger than myself on what's going on now. And it's valid stuff. You know what I mean? I learned things. They've made my life easier. It has made my life easier, not resisting it, going along with it, taking the time to understand it, which I think is so important.
You'd mentioned community earlier. And
yeah.
The community of those younger folks that share with you are important. I mean, they're a community, yes, but they get their own realm of experience and their own perspective, and when they're willing to share and teach, then we get the benefit of both communities.
Yes.
And as much as we love to learn from mistakes, I'd much rather now, at this age, learn from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely,
and not make the same myself.
Yes, absolutely. Well put. That is the ticket right there. And you know, I got, I don't know, what was that, Tony?
We have that video.
Oh, we do?
Whenever you want to take a look at
it.
Oh,
yeah, let's do that. I forgot about the video.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, quick intro on this. One of the things that I was very impressed with Blueshape internally, was able to go about a year ago, go to the factory that is owned by the company, and it is in Malta. I was extremely impressed with the care put into the batteries. And I like to say all the little old Italian shoemakers are now over in Malta building our batteries, but this is just a quick factory tour video that the guys put together over there.
Great, let's have a look.
All right, thank you.
Let's have a look. Awesome. Awesome. That was great. You know, that last shot just made me think, how many different products does Blueshape put out?
Well, we have about 160
really
SKUs, 30 some batteries, but other accessories.
Yeah,
and
chargers,
little cable adapters. We make a smaller battery that attaches to DSLR, and then have 22 different adapters to run the camera itself from that. So that gives us 22 SKUs just for those little attachments there.
And not everything. That was just the batteries at that place in Malta, right?
Right. The people that own Blueshape own that factory, so they have complete control over it. The only thing that isn't made within that factory, as far as the assembly of units go, are those little adapters, because those are just one-piece things that are purchased and tested.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That's great. Where do you produce all your batteries are made there in Malta at that place?
Yes.
At that shop. What other products do you produce outside? Like, do you do cables and chargers and stuff, or is it all right there?
It's within the factory, except for those adapters.
Wow.
Yeah. Every aspect of it. The plates, both the 3-stud and the V-mount plates, are assembled there.
And tell me, how does you alluded to this earlier, but how has lighting and using batteries with lighting affected your business? Tell me about what you've seen there.
Well, there's, again, with the technology of the lighting change, originally to have a battery-powered light, it was a smaller light and would use a single battery on a plate on the back. Yeah. Then as the lights became bigger, required more, even with good LED technology, started to require more power, we needed to combine the power of batteries or make big ones. Our guys chose to make units that combine the power, so out of a 14-volt battery, we can get up to 48 volts and 560 watts of power.
Wow.
That, not trying to plug any one company, but one of the most power-hungry lights that I know of is the Airy Sky Panel S60.
Of course.
And we have a box that will combine 4 batteries and can run that on full for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Without any degradation in the intensity of the light.
Wow. I know you've showed me that actually over at NAB, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the new aspects with the increased demands. We have the 4-place box, we have a 2-place box, a little less. It just seems like more and more, especially with lighting, it's getting unchained. Eliminate the cables, be able to go out anywhere and set up quickly.
Yeah, no, it is, absolutely, and that's the demand, too.
Yes.
That's the demand. Yeah, and you know what, it's funny, because I remember when I was over at NAB, you were showing me that and saying we powered up the S60 for 2+ hours, full power and everything like that. And that S60, and this is kind of another story, it has almost been the juggernaut that changed the lighting industry in so many ways, and I think it really accelerated for other manufacturers to come up and say, yeah, we need a battery-powered solution too.
Right.
And
even the lighting quality. I remember when lighting, the main concern was 32, 46, moving up the chain there, how bright is it? And now you've got the quality of the lighting, the varying colors. So many of
the effects.
Yeah, so many of your lights are. You can dial in the color now.
Dial in
this
the
type
gel,
of thing, so.
dial in the hue, everything. It's really amazing.
Back in my days, we had to put cellophane over it.
So. Well, you know what? You'll laugh, but at NAB this last year, I went to Photon Beard. You know who they are? Yeah, and of course the guy that I met there had the big beard and everything. I bet he did.
Right.
But I found out that they got their name, the guy's name was Beard, and Photon, and they started by going around in London and lighting the gas street lamps.
Wow.
Yeah. That's been in the business for a while.
That's even older than us.
Well, me, John.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm older than you. How old are you, John? You mind telling?
68.
You're 68?
Yep.
I am 68 too, my
see?
brother. Ah,
so
see?
we tied.
See? Twins, separated at birth. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what is funny?
I got to talk to Dad about which one he picked to have hair. So.
Oh, this comes off.
Oh,
I
okay.
can give it to you. You know what? It's funny too. I should talk to you about this too, because there's not a lot of older people. I'll call myself old. I don't care. You know, I'm at 68. Believe me, I'm proud to have made it this far. Right?
And surprised. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. You know what? It is very interesting being the old guy in this industry. I mean, everybody I deal with around me in my business is at minimum almost 20 years younger than I am. You know, certainly are many years younger than I am. But it's really funny too, because I feel closer to the younger people now than I ever did when I was middle age.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think there's something that a wall that you take down or something that you have up in middle age, you always have to achieve, you always have to be there. And I have had so much joy becoming older. You know, the back isn't so fun, but you know.
Yeah. One of the things, Burnie, and I'll applaud you for this, but it's something I see is in people that want to help others succeed and go in with a positive attitude. It's no longer a, gee, I can do it better, or I'll give this. It's, you know, let's lift everybody up and work together.
Bring everybody up.
Share the advice.
Yep.
Get in. And I know you have talked to people and said, no, you don't want that light. You don't want to do the $1,200 package when you can do it with the $300 light and do the same thing.
Right.
And they'll appreciate that, but internally it's a peacefulness that we don't have to climb up on somebody else to achieve. We can help everybody move.
Exactly. And you know something else, John, you know, it's like when I started, and for me, I was always a working guy. I always said, this is the first time I ever owned my own business, you know what I mean? And there's what I call the arc of pride. You know what I mean? It's like you're going up with it, and then you suddenly have this thing that is very well and working, and you really love what it's doing. It's producing a lot of money and stuff, and you really become focused on that. Oh, I got to show everybody my toy and do this. And as I've gotten older, I've learned that's great and that's wonderful, and I do celebrate that and love it. But you know what? I don't want to promote just that. I want to promote the community. I want to promote the people that are doing good work in the community. It's the reason I started this show. I wanted to talk to the people who are doing something and have something, you know what I mean, out there and are interacting.
Right.
So it's so important, and I think I say that, and that's why I came back when I talked earlier today too. It's that community that means everything. You know what I mean? And the job you're doing in that, I will tell you, is very, very good. Because just like William Helmuth, you know, Austin Sabato, you know those names.
Yeah.
And those guys, just as soon as I put that up on Facebook, they go, oh, that'll be great. Yeah, we know. So they, and this is, and I'll tell you something else too, because I remember, as I said, I got in later, but it was a little rougher business. People weren't as welcoming then. They are much more welcoming now, and I see that from the younger people too, is they are much more open for you know, doing things together, you know what I mean, having different roles that we can play and stuff. So I think it's really good.
Well, that a good part of that comes from people who are in the industry that set that tone. You know, I'm relatively a newcomer, especially compared to you. I've been in the video side since '98.
Okay.
And entered the industry, so
21
years at this point.
Yeah.
But you know, the first 10 basically was in sales, well,
Sure.
production, and then into local sales.
Yeah.
And it was, even at the local sales, we were able to do some networking and help people along, but
Sure.
it almost always ended up with a product.
Yeah.
We just happen to have what they need.
Yeah.
But it was actually so. But for you folks that have been in the cutthroat end of it and survived it and then said, no, we're going to put those knives away, we're now going to help folks along.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's been the example that these the Helmuths and Sabatos are seeing and growing through that. And doing some pretty good work, I'm sure you've seen as well on their sites.
Oh my gosh, those guys are doing such awesome work. It's mind-blowing, mind-blowing. But that's it too, and you know what, and I see in them, I see that same thing. I see them helping people. So somebody's just coming out, I know one kid just coming out of not Chapman, but Biola, was interning for me, and Austin Sabato got him out there and had him gaffing for him and stuff like that. And he's just coming out of college. So I see them turning it around and keeping it open too, which is really great, really great.
Interesting time to be alive, and I'm grateful to see this. That group is no longer the good old boys club. We're now, I'm seeing a lot more female shooters.
Oh, absolutely.
All sorts of different background roles.
Huge,
And
huge.
we've recently sponsored a young shooter in Hawaii. And she's, part of it's Hawaii. It's just such a phenomenally beautiful shot. And then to see what she's doing with it and the skills that she's showing, it's just
so awesome.
just fabulous. But it's great to see the thing opening up. Because again, two communities combining together, you get perspectives from both of them.
You get a much better perspective too. And you know, we need to do more, in my opinion, of bringing minorities and into the industry too.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, when I say the industry, I'm talking about me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I identifying those holdups that are keeping us from doing that. You know. And bringing much more women into the G&E world and getting all that. So, dude, believe it or not, we're out of time.
Might have to do it again sometime.
We will, John.
Pleasure.
Thank you,
Bernie,
brother.
thanks so much for having me.
Anything you want to
Appreciate it.
give us before we go? How to contact you? Anything like that?
BlueshapeUSA.com. I'm on there. You can do info or John at. And the main product website for the international folks is blueshape.net. Our webmaster on that one does a much better job of keeping it up than I do on my site.
That's great. That's great. Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great.
And don't forget to rent from Burnie when you're out here.
That's good. Good.
So,
I'll pay you 20 later.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, and we'll see you next week on Bernie's Applebox. Cut. That's a wrap.